the DVD Shelf Movie Reviews, where movies are celebrated, not incinerated. In this feature-length spin-off of the popular Batman animated series from the early 90s, Batman is hot on the trail of a seemingly supernatural figure who is killing off Gotham City's crime bosses one by one. As Batman becomes the prime target of suspicion for the murders, he must catch this villainous vigilante before the police catch him. But the only clues to this mysterious killing spree lie somewhere within the deepest, darkest corners of Batman's past. It's got all the atmosphere, complex storytelling, and stunning animation we've come to know and love about the classic animated series. This is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I'm your host David Rose, and welcome to my very first animated movie review. It's episode 10 of the DVD Shelf Movie Reviews, and man has it been a long ride so far. Way back in episode 1, we took a look at the 2008 blockbuster The Dark Knight, which is so far the most successful Batman film of all time.
We are tonight's entertainment.
So I figured with episode 10, I'd dig back into my Batman DVD collection and pick out this classic title from the creators of one of the most beloved and influential cartoon shows of all time, Batman the Animated Series.
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
This film, which actually had a small theatrical run during the 1993 holiday season, translates the moody look and feel of the animated series into a big screen spectacle. The layered story follows two completely separate timelines and is truly worthy of a feature-length film. In many ways, it deserves a spot right next to, if not slightly above, the popular live-action Batman films of the late 80s and 90s, due to its faithfulness to the Batman character, the clever whodunit mystery story, and its provocative action set pieces. So today, we'll be taking a look at the genesis of Batman Mask of the Phantasm and how it was conceived out of the massive success of the Emmy-winning Batman animated series. But of course, we can't do that before talking about how the original animated series came to be in the first place. In every episode, I make it a point to only review movies that I want to recommend to all of you. So, to determine how strongly I recommend them, I like to use this rating scale, ranging from 1 disc being just download it, all the way up to 5 discs being a must-own movie. So, now let's uncover the mystery behind Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Directed by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm, and featuring the voice talents of Kevin Conroy, Dana Delaney, Stacy Keach, Mark Hamill, Hart Bochner, Abe Vigoda, and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. It was released theatrically from Warner Bros. Animation on December 25th, 1993, and was originally released on DVD on December 21st, 1999.
Now hold on to your hat and watch the valuables. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
The road to Batman getting his own animated series more than likely started with the wildly successful 1989 Batman movie directed by Tim Burton. The film broke records at the box office, inspiring a slew of movies and TV shows to borrow that same dark film noir style that encompassed the movie. Also in 1989, animator Bruce W. Timm, who had previously been a part of the animation crew on various 80s cartoon fixtures like Masters of the Universe and G.I. Joe, was hired on at the Warner Bros. Animation studio. During this time, Warner Bros. Animation was coming out of a long slump after its lack of producing Looney Tunes shorts by working with producer Steven Spielberg on developing a new television cartoon series which was conceived as being a modernized version of the classic Looney Tunes shorts.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony, and in this cartoony we're invading your TV.
This series, of course, ended up being Tiny Toon Adventures. Tiny Toons was a huge hit, leading Warner Bros. Animation to consider producing more animated television shows, and with the success of the Batman movie, they were focusing on developing comic book-based shows featuring characters from Warner Bros.' sister company, DC Comics.
The heroic Duck Knight and his laughing young daredevil companion must melt back into the shadows from whence they came.
It was while working on Tiny Toons that Bruce Timm met background artist Eric Radomski.
It's Tiny Toon Adventures, come and join the fun. And now our song is done.
In 1990, the animation studio's president at the time, Gene McCurdy, assigned Bruce Timm to sketch up some drawings of Batman. Unbeknownst to Timm, Eric Radomski had also done some background sketching and animation tests to find a good look for Gotham City. McCurdy was impressed with their work, and she assigned them to collaborate on an animated pitch to show to studio heads to maybe get an animated Batman show off the ground. Due to their common appreciation for all things Batman, Tim and Radomski quickly formed a friendship as they excitedly started to throw around ideas for how the Batman style should look. Obviously, the style started with the look of the Tim Burton film, but from there, other ideas were tossed around, like lifting certain stylistic elements from old pulp comics and, as a stronger influence, the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons from the 1940s. The intent of the style was to make it look different from anything that was seen on TV in those days. What they came up with, which was a streamlined, angled style that retained realistic human proportions, surely was unique for the time and is still heavily used as a standard in animation styles to this day. I mean, the technique not only looks great, but with the minimal amount of detail and line work needed, it really is much faster. So, in 1991, Tim and Radomski had a finished piece of animation to pitch to the studio what their vision of Batman would look like. They handed it off to the studio heads, who looked at it and gave the go-ahead to begin production on the new Batman show. And to Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski's shock, they were made the show's producers, due to their ability to create something at this level in a relatively short amount of time. This would be their first time either of them had produced a series. Production began soon after, and just in time to cross-promote with the release of Tim Burton's cinematic sequel Batman Returns in the summer of 1992, Batman the Animated Series debuted on Fox on September 5th, 1992. The series was an instant hit with audiences and critics alike. It was praised for pushing the boundaries of what a kid's cartoon show could be, and even pulled in the older crowds due to its sophisticated storytelling and dark cinematic style. Not only was the animation highly praised for its uniqueness, but so were the backgrounds. Eric Radomski decided early on to start the backgrounds on black paper instead of white, and slowly adding bold colors to create some eye-catching lighting techniques, finished off with a bit of airbrushing, further pushing the stylistic film noir look. The building and vehicle designs look right out of 30s and 40s style Art Deco, giving the series a timeless feel. The series incorporated many of Batman's most popular villains, including Joker, Catwoman, and Penguin, but also brought more obscure characters to the forefront like Clayface, Killer Croc, and Ra's al Ghul. The show was responsible for the creation of the popular character Harley Quinn, Joker's badass right-hand gal who is completely infatuated with the Twisted Clown.
Harley?
Hi, Puddin'. Miss me?
Oh, you clever little minx. How did you escape from Arkham?
Batman sprung me so's I could find you. Had me all locked up in his bad old car, too.
Oh.
Harley Quinn was co-created by Bruce Timm and one of the show's head writers, Paul Dini, and has since become a fan favorite amongst Batman's colorful rogues gallery, spawning her own lines of toys and comics. A popular episode of the series, titled Heart of Ice, reinvented the famous villain Mr. Freeze, who was always simply known before as being a petty thief and mad scientist who uses a freeze ray gun to commit his crimes. This episode turned him into a tragic doctor character who is frozen while trying to discover a medical cure for his dying wife Nora as she lies in a comatose state. This backstory became a permanent fixture for the Mr. Freeze character, not only in the series but in the Batman comics as well. The episode won the series one of the 4 total Emmys the show eventually received.
Yes, well, this is all tremendously boring.
Another surprising aspect of the show was the casting of Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, as the voice of the Joker.
I know mine's the best, but let's hear yours anyway.
Many consider Hamill's Joker as the interpretation that set the standard for the way the character should be portrayed. And that laugh seals the deal. Hamill has played the voice of the Joker in several different forms of media, including the popular video games Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me.
It was recently announced with the release of Arkham City that Hamill would officially retire as the voice of the Clown Prince of Crime, but that's been said several times before. So we'll just see soon enough if his Joker has had his last laugh. The show has been praised by hardcore Batman fans for utilizing villains and characters that were previously only seen in the comic books and never given a definitive treatment outside of the medium. The animated series was the first time the popular villain Two-Face was depicted outside of the comics.
For the next 5 minutes, I'm in control.
Although Billy D. Williams played Two-Face's alter ego, District Attorney Harvey Dent, in the 1989 Batman movie, the animated series gave us our first glimpse at a walking, talking Two-Face.
Harvey.
talking for Two-Face was character actor Richard Mole, famous for his portrayal of the bailiff Bull Shannon in the popular 80s sitcom Night Court.
Hey, turkey. Want a corn nut? Corn nut. Num num. Nacho cheese.
Harvey Dent had been established in several of the animated series' earliest episodes as a good friend of Bruce Wayne's. But in the episode titled Two-Face, which was aptly a two-part episode, Harvey Dent is revealed to have a multiple personality disorder. In a horrible explosion, half of Dent's body is mangled, pushing his mental illness to the breaking point. This new spotlight the animated series provided for Two-Face brought him out of comics obscurity, turning him into a top-shelf Batman villain. He became so popular that he was later depicted in two separate live-action Batman films, Batman Forever, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and The Dark Knight, played by Aaron Eckhart.
Dent? Jesus, I thought you was dead.
Half.
Other interesting voice talent for the show included actor and composer Paul Williams as the Penguin,
Curses, I would grab the wrong umbrella.
actress Adrienne Barbeau as Catwoman,
Well, I'd like to think our relationship isn't just restricted to saving each other from freaks and weirdos.
actor Roddy McDowall as the Mad Hatter,
I'd like that last statement stricken from the record, please.
and actor Ron Perlman as Clayface.
Come back. From this?
Previously obscure villains like Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, and Ra's al Ghul became indelible spots in Batman's rogues gallery because of this show. So much so that they all showed up in later Batman movies. Even the character of Bane, who was actually a newer character in the comic books at that time, was portrayed in several episodes. In the comics, Bane rose to fame as the imposing roided-out Hulk that broke Batman over one knee, leaving him paralyzed. In the animated series, he arrives in Gotham City from South America as a hired hitman to destroy Batman for good. He was voiced by character actor Henry Silva, who gave Bane a strong South American accent.
Toys. You try to fight me with pathetic little toys.
The famous back-breaking scene was only alluded to in the series, but Batman was able to defeat Bane this go-round. Later, Bane was ridiculously portrayed by the late wrestler Jeep Swenson as a virtually silent caveman-esque lackey to Poison Ivy in the cinematic disaster Batman and Robin. But despite the various depictions making him of South American or Spanish origins, British actor Tom Hardy will be portraying him in the upcoming Christopher Nolan film The Dark Knight Rises. Now, even though Hardy is roughly the same height as Christian Bale, he reportedly gained 30 pounds of muscle before filming began, but it'll still be interesting to see how menacing they make him look next to Bale's Batman. The opening title sequence for Batman the Animated Series sets the stage for the overall tone. It's composed of a couple of silhouetted bank robbers who have a tussle with Batman on a rooftop. Batman defeats them and stands victorious on top of a skyscraper. This opening sequence concisely depicts Batman so truly that the show doesn't even need a friggin' title card. You just know it's Batman. The theme for the show was composed by Danny Elfman, who reinterpreted his own main theme and score for the 1989 Batman film. Elfman's conductor, the late Shirley Walker, would go on to compose original music for 59 of the show's 109 total episodes, writing original compositions for each episode, making each episode feel like a mini-movie. She also would go on to compose the main theme and score for Batman Mask of the Phantasm. With the endless praise and success of the show's first season, Warner Brothers commissioned the crew to begin production on a feature-length film, which was originally going to be a direct-to-video release. Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski were appointed as the film's co-directors. The writers decided they wanted to tell a story that didn't in any way incorporate stories from the animated series. The Joker was written in as a side villain, but they wanted Batman to face a new, original foe. Inspired by Citizen Kane, they wanted the film to utilize flashbacks of Bruce Wayne's life to help tell the story that was happening in the present. They also thought it would be interesting to give Wayne a love interest for the first time during the course of the series. Soon after, the storyboarding process began. And naturally, in the early 90s, a direct-to-video movie would retain that same square-shaped television aspect ratio as any television show had at the time. But in the middle of pre-production, Warner Brothers decided to bump the movie up from a direct-to-video release to a full-on Christmas 1993 theatrical release. This gave the crew less than a year to finish the film, which was tight considering the average animated film needs at least 2 years to complete. However, Warner Brothers gave the crew a generous amount of creative control over the story and bumped up the film's budget to $6 million. This allowed more elaborate set pieces to be added to the film, but Radomski and Tim now had the grueling task of redrawing all the completed storyboards to now give them that theatrical widescreen aspect ratio. Somehow, though, they were able to deliver a completed, well-polished feature film by the deadline, and it was released in theaters on Christmas Day in 1993. The film begins with a sweeping flight through the rooftops of Gotham City. Now for 1993, and even for 2011, this is a pretty impressive and beautiful piece of computer animation. The 3D style of the buildings really blends well with the hand-drawn style to be seen in the movie. The action starts quickly as Batman crashes a crime boss meeting at the top of a sprawling casino. The main gangster, Chucky Saul, escapes to his car in a nearby parking garage. He is confronted by a threatening cloaked figure who suddenly appears in a cloud of smoke.
Chucky Saul, your angel of death awaits.
Thinking the figure is Batman, Chucky points a gun at him and opens fire. With the fierce whip of a deadly blade, Chucky Saul's gun is cut in half. A terrified Chucky tries to run down the figure with his car, accidentally driving it off the parking garage. Batman arrives on the scene where onlookers think it's him who caused the accident. Batman quickly leaves and tries to chase down the masked man, who soon disappears into thin air. City officials are furious, and, to the disgust of Police Commissioner Gordon, they're blaming Batman for the murder of Chucky Saul.
I'm sorry, Councilman, but you can't blame Batman for what happened to Chucky Saul.
Why not? He's a loose cannon, Commissioner. It's not just my opinion. A lot of people, including the police I might add, think Batman's as unstable as the crooks he brings in.
Meanwhile, Andrea Beaumont, an old flame of Batman's alter ego Bruce Wayne, has arrived in Gotham City for family reasons. At a gala event being held at Wayne Manor, Andrea comes up in conversation by Weasley Councilman Arthur Reeves, who taunts Bruce Wayne about letting a girl like Andrea get away.
Thanks for the handkerchief, Arthur. You know where you can stick it.
This causes Bruce to reminisce about his college days when he first met Andrea at the cemetery where he was visiting his parents' grave. It was around the same time that Bruce was attempting to begin his journey of becoming a vigilante crime fighter.
Well, Bruce, here goes.
We watch as Bruce, donning only a ski mask and dark clothes, attempt to take down a group of thieves. This idea was inspired by the Frank Miller comic Batman Year One, where Bruce begins fighting crime in street clothes before creating the Batman persona. This idea was also done again, to some capacity, with Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne in 2005's Batman Begins. As the film continues, crime boss Buzz Bronski suffers a grisly death inflicted by the ghostly Phantasm. And with Andrea Beaumont back in the picture, Batman's memories continue to haunt him as he remembers that Andrea's father made frequent shady business deals with mob boss Salvatore Valestra. Believing that Batman is the crime boss killer and that he may be his next victim, aging kingpin Salvatore Valestra pays a visit to his old friend, the Joker, and offers him a briefcase filled with cash to kill the Bat.
What do I look like? Pest control?
Think, you fool. Once he gets me, how long till he gets you? You know what I'm talking about. Your hands are just as dirty. Dirtier. Don't touch me, old man.
I don't know where you've been.
With the crazed clown prince of crime thrown into the mix, things can only get hairier for Batman now. But you'll have to just watch for yourself as the mystery of the Phantasm unravels and the movie builds to its final and very surprising climax.
This madness ends now.
Now, not many people remember that this film was released in theaters, and who can blame them? This film had virtually no marketing backing it, so no one even knew about it. However, I am proud to say that at the tender age of 7 years old, I did see Mask of the Phantasm that year in the movie theater.
Ooh, you devil.
I remember McDonald's having Batman animated series themed Happy Meal toys, and for some reason I vividly remember those Happy Meal boxes advertising the movie. And And sure enough, now this was the best photo I could find online of one of those old Happy Meal boxes, but there it is, right there. If you squint, you might be able to make it out. Batman Mask of the Phantasm, the animated movie, December 1993. And who knows, that was probably the film's biggest piece of advertising. Yikes. When the film was released, it inspired a line of action figures from Kenner, which branched off of the already successful action figure line inspired by the animated series. During the film's theatrical run, it only had matinee showings, most likely catering to the younger crowd. But that's a little bizarre considering the huge following of not only kids, but adults brought in by the animated series. Barely anyone got to see this film, and it was in and out of the theaters in the blink of an eye. The critics loved it, but it didn't remain in the theaters long enough to make back its budget, causing the film to bomb. Well, that sucks. Even Batman and Robin turned a profit. The world we live in.
Such rot, sir.
And speaking of nobody seeing it, it wasn't until Batman Forever was released in the summer of 1995 that Mask of the Phantasm was finally featured on Siskel and Ebert's movie review show.
And Roger and I never reviewed it, and as far as I'm concerned, we made a big mistake because it's terrific. I enjoyed it more than the current Batman adventure that's in theaters, and I kind of like that picture.
Mask of the Phantasm came out relatively quick on video in spring of 1994. And seriously, I watched the shit out of this VHS tape. Probably didn't even work anymore. I just didn't have the heart to get rid of it. Oh, and look, it even came with a cool little comic book adaptation hidden in the sleeve. Now, despite the unjustified theatrical bombing of this film, it went on to gain the attention it deserved on video. And the animated series continued without skipping a beat. By season 2, the show was retitled The Adventures of Batman and Robin, as Robin became more of a recurring character. And the show was given a new theme song when composer Shirley Walker got rid of the original Danny Elfman theme and composed a new theme that was actually reminiscent of the main theme for Mask of the Phantasm. The animated series lasted until 1995 after its third season, where in several episodes, Batgirl was integrated into the show. In 1996, following the series' run, Warner Bros. Animation began work on another Batman animated movie, this time being a direct-to-video feature focusing on Mr. Freeze, titled Sub-Zero. This was done to generate hype for the upcoming 1997 film Batman and Robin, but after Batman and Robin was released that summer, and was a steaming pile of horse manure, Sub-Zero's release was delayed. The film was later released on video in spring of 1998, and while the film was another strong entry in the Batman animated series universe, it wasn't, in my opinion, as compelling as Mask of the Phantasm. What good came out of the release of Batman and Robin, however, was that it did inspire an order from Warner Bros. To create new animated episodes of Batman. Much of the original creative team from Batman the Animated Series was beginning work on a new Superman series that was to broadcast on the WB network. With the look of the Superman show having a sleeker, simpler design than the original Batman shows, the crew went back in and redesigned all of the Batman characters to fit better with the newer, sharper Superman style. New Batman shows and Superman shows were created and shown in a 1-hour block on the WB network as the new Batman Superman Adventures. Keeping with the same continuity as the first incarnation of the animated series, Dick Grayson, who was Robin, has grown up to become Nightwing, Batgirl is officially a part of the team, and young Tim Drake has become the new Robin. 24 of these new Batman episodes were made, and even though the animation style was different, this was considered to be the fourth and final season of Batman the Animated Series. And there is so much more to mention about the animated Batman shows that have come out since then, like Batman Beyond, Justice League, The Batman, and Batman the Brave and the Bold, not to mention all of the direct-to-DVD Batman animated films, but there will be plenty of time to delve into those in future episodes. So, here we have the DVD for Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and... oh, great, another one of those double-sided discs. Boy, I hate these things. One side is the film in full screen, the other side is widescreen, making it that much easier to scratch the disc. As for the special features, there's only the film's theatrical trailer. Now you can go on YouTube and find a rare behind-the-scenes video for Mask of the Phantasm. I believe it was the HBO First Look from back in the day. It's pretty decent, but unfortunately you won't find it on the DVD. So, what's the final consensus? If you've passed up this film before thinking it was a subpar direct-to-video release, then I think you're in for a big surprise. Even if you're just a casual fan of Batman the Animated Series, I think you'll enjoy this movie. It's not just more of the same or just an extended episode of the show, although that would be just fine. It's a mature mystery story on a grand scale that rivals the Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan Batman movies and absolutely tramples Joel Schumacher's 2 Batman movies. And it's also one of those films that only gets better with multiple viewings. So, despite the absence of any interesting special features, I'm going to give Batman Mask of the Phantasm a 5-disc recommendation. A must-own movie, especially for all you die-hard Batman fans out there.
Of course.
So that about wraps up my 10th episode of the DVD Shelf Movie Reviews, and I want to thank anybody who's actually sat down for all 10 of these things and listened to my ramblings. It's been a fun ride so far, and maybe in another 10 episodes we can take a look at another Batman DVD, because there are plenty more where this came from. I'll keep making these reviews as long as you guys keep watching them, and they'll all be found at HappyDragonPictures.com.
You just don't know when to quit, do you?
So, see you next time, but for now, this one's going back on the DVD shelf.